Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, V'char Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS who have taught us this word and teach us this word today. And want to give a salutation unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Yatazakbar with the GMS Nebraska camp. And in this lesson, what I want to get into is recent news update that the U.S. Army has raised its age limit to who can enlist in the Army. You know, here we have from Fox News, says U.S. Army raises enlistment age to 42, drops marijuana waiver rule, and major 2026 overhaul. And the reason why we see this happening is because World War III is coming soon, and Esau knows that. You know, these leaders of Babylon the Great know that. And what we are seeing is that the numbers of people who are enlisting in the Army is dropping. The number of people who are eligible to join the Army are dropping due to health concerns, obesity, different things. And so, they're raising the age to who can join the Army, in an attempt to, bring more people in. We can go ahead and get that here from in Grok. It says, why has the age for military eligibility been raised? And it says the U.S. Army recently raised its maximum enlistment age from 35 to 42, as detailed in updated Army Regulation 601-210. Now, before we read more than this, I'm gonna grab the precept. Showing in prophecy there's gonna be World War III. You have some people who want to think optimistically and, think that, we won't see World War III or nuclear war. You have, this Trump administration and Trump himself who pridefully state that they're going to, exact peace and, stop war in the Middle East and that they are the answer to stop global wars, stop things from getting worse. And they are the main instruments that have things getting worse, But at the end of the day, it's of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai's will that war will come to this earth. And as we see in Revelation 11:14, it says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. So what are those woes speaking about? Woe means destruction. And in the book of Revelation, it talks about a first woe and a second woe, and that we're awaiting a third. So that first and second woe is talking about World War I and World War II. And it says what? The third woe cometh quickly. So we know that World War III is going to come to pass. And as the scriptures say in 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 5, it says, for like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So this third world war is going to, lead to the destruction of Esau's current rule, because what is going to be a result from World War III is that, that nuclear option is going to be chosen and the missiles are going to be shot. And the scriptures talk about how all these different countries who hold nuclear capability are going to shoot their missiles here upon Babylon the Great, America. So that's going to serve as the destruction of this wicked kingdom. It's going to serve as the destruction of Esau's power system and the beginning of Israel's. As the scriptures say in 2nd Ezra 6:9, Esau's the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So let's read 2nd Ezra 9:5 again, which says, for like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So we're seeing the different things happening that's leading up to World War III. We're seeing tensions rising, not tensions rising. We're seeing war taking place in the so-called Middle East, what is actually Western Asia. We see it taking place right now. We see them, Iran has, made the move where they say that they are indefinitely cutting off U.S. and Israel from the Strait of Hormuz. And the U.S. isn't they want access to that strait. They want control of that region. So they're going to continue to go forth in war. um Iran is uh not looking like they're backing down anytime soon, and we see Iran's partners helping them, such as Russia and China. So war is ramping up. And Lord willing, what we're seeing right now is going to lead to the end. It may die down and may continue to get worse. But what we know is that the scriptures do say in Matthew 24 and verse 6, it says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." And it says that because we understand that World War III isn't the only prophecy that we are to look forward, or that is going to show the end of this kingdom. We're also going to see the prophecy of the MOTB, which is going to be a main indicator of how close we are to the end of Esau's system. And that MOTB has not been made mandatory yet. We're still waiting on that move to be made. So it's beautiful times that we're in. It's beautiful to see prophecy coming to pass the way that it is, but we still, have to continue to have our patience. Now, on the way to this prophecy of World War III coming to pass, what we see, going back to it, the age for military eligibility has been raised. And what this is going to serve as, this is opening the door for more people to be judged. Because what is going to happen is that people who join the army, people who are in the military and are deployed onto the Middle East and deployed to these different countries to fight, that is going to be the Lord judging these different military men. As the scriptures say in 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 33, it says, "The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine." So, these we're gonna see, soon we're gonna see men being sent off to war. We're gonna see a draft come here to the US. Right now, there's no talks of a draft. The government is acting like they have everything under control, that that's not going to be needed. But in due time, we're going to see people being drafted to go to the army, to go to the military, to be sent off to fight. And that's going to be a judgment, because a lot of people who are going to be in this war are going to be cannon fodder. People being put on the front lines, getting blown up, shot, put to death. And as the scriptures say, the Lord killeth and he maketh alive. People who get put in this war and destroyed in it, put to death in it, is going to be the Lord putting them down. That's why we read in Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare a war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears." So that's saying, what are plowshares and pruning hooks? Those are tools of agriculture, tools of farming, which is representative of, peace. You're not really, getting into no trouble. You just taking care of your farm. But it says what? Beat your plowshares into swords. So imagine a farmer basically needing to get into a mode to fight. And he's taking his farming instruments and turning them into weapons so that he can fight. Well, that's representative how this time of so-called peace that we see the world in, well, things are going to get turbulent. And we're going to see a lot of people here in America be shipped off to go fight, who are in a peaceful mind state right now, who ain't even thinking about being in a war or battling, and they're going to get drafted away. Or you got some people who are signing up to fight in this war. And I'll say this, if you are an Israelite, no Israelites have no business fighting for Esau's military. Why would we fight for our enemy? Why would we fight for this man who has done all this wickedness toward us? Why would we fight and protect a country that has been established and built upon, our bloodshed, upon our captivity? But that's the thing. You have a lot of Jake who is basically, who brainwashing on Esau's side, and the Lord is going to deal with him. But let's read on. Joel 3:10, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Now that valley of Jehoshaphat, that location is there in Western Asia, the so-called Middle East, around the region of Saudi Arabia. As a matter of fact, well, no, we're not gonna get it, but it's around the region of Saudi Arabia, and there's gonna be a battle. The Book of Revelation speak about it and calls it Armageddon, where all these militaries are going to meet in an area, and there's going to be a great destruction. And it says that the Lord is going to sit to judge all these heathen round about, at this valley of Jehoshaphat, at this battle, so that's going to be the Lord executing judgment upon these military men, and let's read again. It says, put ye, in verse 13, says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. So the Lord is going to be, taking out Jake, who gets sent off to this battle. All the different, nations, because it's talking to the heathen, right? So these militaries of China who are in this battle, these militaries of Russia, these Middle Eastern nations, these Ishmaelites, these Elamites, they're different men who are going to be put to death in this war. Everybody who is being sent off to this fight is going to be facing the Lord's judgment. So it says multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. And the death toll is going to be great from this coming war. We can go to Ezekiel chapter 39, where it depicts the amount of dead that is going to be in the land after this war is all said and done. Because once Esau is taken down out of power, once this war is over, once this destruction has come to pass, and we, the nation of Israel, take the rulership and take the kingdom, we're going to have to clean up this earth because of all the destruction and because of all the dead. And let's go ahead and read this prophecy, which is going to detail that process. Ezekiel 39:11, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of the passengers on the east of the sea. And it shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there shall they bury Gog and all his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Hamon Gog, right? Because when you read the chapter before this, it talks about how Gog was Gog with the nations fighting with Gog speaking about Russia, and them nations being nations such as Iran, different African nations, Turkey, and nations that aren't named. China is going to be fighting with Russia, and fighting alongside Russia, North Korea, these countries are going to be fighting against America, Israel, and different NATO countries. Armies are going to be in this region, so it's speaking directly to Gog, but it's going to be different nations as well that this is referring to. And it says, let's read it again. It says, and it shall stop the noses of the passengers, right? Because there's going to be so many dead bodies after this battle that if you're passing by, it's going to be like all that rotten flesh and all them dead bodies is going to stink. Now let's go down to verse 12. It says, "In 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying them, that they may cleanse the land. Yea, all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renown, the day that I shall be glorified, said the Lord Yahweh." So it says it's going to take months for all these bodies to be cleaned up. It's going to take months for, because not only do these bodies have to be cleaned up, but all the rubble and the craters and the land being destroyed from different ballistic missiles and mortars and vehicles be exploding, all type of destruction is going to have to be cleaned up. And we have to keep in mind, this is going to be at the stage that we will be in power. So when it says the house of Israel is going to be cleansing the land, this is going to be our servants, underneath our rule, cleansing this land for us. We're not going to be touching no dead bodies or picking up on no rubble or nothing like that, cleaning things up. We going to be pointing fingers onto these heathen who are going to be captive underneath us, and they're going to be doing this job. That's why it says in Ezekiel 39:14, "And they shall sever out men of continual employment, passing through the land to bury with the passengers those that remain upon the face of the earth to cleanse it. After the end of 7 months shall they search." So those men of continual employment is talking about these heathen that we are going to put in chains, and going to be ruling over, and we're going to be, having them doing that grueling job of burying these bodies and doing that hard labor, that disgusting labor. Esau is going to be definitely getting in the mix and being employed to do this job. And when it says employed, it's not like employment today where you get paid to do it. You get a check. Nah, these heathen are going to be working. It ain't about to be no hourly wage. So just wanted to get into that, that news update, that age is raising, and Esau wants more people to be coming onto this army. There's a reason for that, because they need more fighters. They need more men, hey, and in this coming draft, women are going to be drafted as well. At least that's what's in talks right now. We'll see what comes of that. But, they say that men and women are going to be included in this draft. So, hey, Lord willing, this comes to pass soon. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ucharkwadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS, and salutation unto the elect. Shalom.